Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another Midnight Launch commentary. Today we are looking at the most recent AAA release from EA and Visceral Games, Dead Space 3. Dead Space 3 is a third-person shooter which seems to have left its own sort of basis behind in horror, but traded it for action. Does this detriment the game, or does it make it its own unique thing? Joining me today is Robert and Jack, and I am Michael, back from yesterday with The Walking Dead. And gentlemen, let's get started.
Alright, so we're here in Isaac's apartment right now, the beginning of Dead Space 3. The beginning is actually cut off because it's mostly spoilers and recap from the first two games. But as you can see, we're walking around the apartment complex, getting right into the action. You can see that it's a bit lighter mood, actually, than the other two. It's still a corridor third-person shooter, but as you can see from the right, we're actually on the colonies right now.
It kind of says a lot about the mood in the earlier games if this is lighter than the others.
Yeah. And as you see here, we're going into a city environment, which is cool, because in the first two Dead Space games, you were always watching the action, watching people scream for their lives and stuff like that. But now you're actually here, seeing right there cars going above and whatnot, which is really exciting.
And like we're also like really dealing with people, and right here is where sort of the core of the game has sort of started. You're being attacked right now by other humans, which really hasn't happened before.
And then we see the crouch function in action, which is a new addition to the game.
So that's something that really stands out about the game, is that you're being attacked by other humans. We just see this guy who just blew himself up. He had that simple marker which indicates psychology.
Yeah, which is kind of weird, because we want unitologists to not think they're just crazy religious people. I feel like that's a very two-dimensional character point of view.
Yeah, they haven't gotten any less crazy over the course of the series.
Okay,
it's
so
progressively weird.
One second, there we see those ammo pickups. The game took a switch to the universal ammo system in general. I think there's a classic mode which puts it back to plasma energy and line racks and stuff. But do you think it works? Do you think this universal ammo helps the game in terms of the survival aspect to it?
I don't know, because the reason I was scared to pick up other weapons and really wanted to keep my utilities to a minimum in the first two games was because I didn't want my ammo to vary too much, and I wanted to have enough of each. But I don't know.
I think it does help with the action part of the game. It makes it a lot less stressful to have to, worry about what ammo you have for what gun. That really works for horror, but it kind of slows down the action. It's kind of what that seems going for.
And I sort of liked when Mass Effect changed, like going to Mass Effect for a second. I like when Mass Effect changed from the heat to ammo. Because
that was nice.
It gave
was really helpful.
Mass Effect 2 sort of did it kind of weirdly, like with some the lighter classes only had like 2 weapons. Like they had piss all in terms of ammo, whereas if you're a soldier you have all 5 weapons. But I think in Mass Effect 3 they really did a good job of giving you, a lot of weapons to choose from and all that stuff. But that'd be for a Mass Effect episode. So.
Why are these fanatics after
as a Dead Space fan, looking at this, with the universal ammo, I'm going, I don't like that. I really don't like that, which is why I'm kind of glad they at least give you the option to,
So now she's
after you get the game first time, I think you can go and,
Well, that's one of the things I didn't like was a lot of people, especially on PC forums, are like, I just want to edit my save. I want to make sure it looks like I've beaten the game so I can get all these classic modes and get, really to the core of what I want Dead Space to be right off the bat.
which is definitely understandable.
Oh man, that is grisly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just saw that guy basically saw this woman. He was interrogating her, looking for Isaac. That's the crux of this beginning part is unitologists are trying to find and kill Isaac.
Yeah.
Which really puts a sort of new strand in, you think about Dead Space 1, you were just there to fix the Ishimura.
Yeah, the character
is trying to escape with your life.
The character is really from a different standpoint in terms of other world. Well, in terms of world development, he's really almost like a disposable character in the first game, just as a service worker. And in the second game, he's a little bit more important. In the third game, he's really the pinnacle of the whole story.
Yeah.
Now
he's really bad at causing accidents too. He's kind of a dick.
That's something I've always liked about Dead Space is how stasis and kinesis are used in terms of solving puzzles and exploring the environment, all that stuff. And that was just a really cool sort of... First of all, it's representation of this is a city. This is actually a place that you're in. There's actual people. Well, those are automated trucks, but still, that is just so cool.
Yeah, it's not just a random space station or an old mining ship where there'd be a couple hundred people on it or something like that. This is another city.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to point out is that this level in particular is a very like third-dimensional in like how you go about stuff. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of the things in the first game were like, oh, we're just gonna go along this path, we can veer left and right. But this one is really vertical gameplay here that I really enjoyed in like the first couple Halo 2 levels, which was really cool to see.
Okay, so we just saw Isaac do that little combat roll, and I personally love third-person shooters, and so anytime I get a combat roll, I'm like, yes, that gives me options, gives me
it's like crack.
So, but how do you think it compares when you look at Dead Space 1 and 2?
Well, I feel like there's a lot of hate in this game, well, towards this game actually, where the combat's sped up a little bit. You're fighting humans. The game's a little lighter, but I feel like the game's actually taken a darker turn in terms of story instead of just like, oh, we're here on the space station doing zombie stuff. The game is the story's more three-dimensional.
These are real things happening to real people. It's not just zombie alien dudes that you're ripping apart.
And so the combat, adding a couple more things to complement that, I think is totally fine. You don't have to do it. You can play the game as slow as you like. I feel like this isn't even that big of an issue.
Yeah. So, we also just saw that guy talking about on the screen with all those little models and stuff from the Unitology, and that seems to have been the Unitology stuff was always sort of like in the liner notes of Dead Space 1, and like 2 it became very present, and here it just seems to be full bore. Like I said,
you were being attacked.
Yeah.
And like just right now, you were being attacked by the Unitology. So.
I want to talk about the scene before this while we play through the cinematic right here.
Okay.
The cinematic's very cliche, but it gets kind of more exciting towards the end. But prior to that, when we were in the elevator, you can see a lot of economic statistics. And this man right here, the man in the fancy red coat, he was talking about like the economy and almost like a 99% type deal where we're taking back the government, Earth being like this colony. And so they come here and they're like, you guys are doing this whole thing wrong. You're ruining the economy. You're taking away everything that we've worked for as like a species.
Can I point out real quick that this guy's jacket makes him look a little bit like Santa Claus?
I was getting a Zoolander feel. Also, his sunglasses just make him look like a really dickish stepdad. And nobody likes that.
Yeah, except this dickish stepdad has a religious cult that supports him.
And he's executing people with a magnum. So it's a bad precedent to start.
And then that happens.
This is almost like the pinnacle scene in Call of Duty 4.
Oh my god, yeah.
Except Isaac doesn't die of radiation poisoning.
And here, children crying in a playground.
Spoiler alert. This is really cool.
We all just stopped like, God, that was badass.
Well, because it is, man. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. That was a really sort of big, bombastic thing that Dead Space, like the first one, to go into there, you didn't really have that much. You had like maybe the final boss battle where you throw a freaking rock into a planet, but
What was cool about this scene was falling into the trash and kind of getting yourself up. Although it's a very quick scene, it's really reminiscent of that scene in Star Wars where you fall into the trash compactor.
Yeah. That's actually a good comparison to make. So now we see these new enemies that just...
Oh my god, I get raped. Look at this. I tapped the E button so fast there. So fast. And I just get slaughtered. And then I continue to get raped.
Man, it just ripped you open, dude.
It shows how much you have to keep your distance in this game.
Well, you also are playing on a console,
yeah? Well, one of the things I want to talk about is, like, how difficult... We'll talk about this in the podcast later in the week. but how difficulty actually forces you to change your gameplay strategy and really appreciate the game more. And be more aware of your environment.
He like threw an axe at him or something.
Yeah, he threw an axe and it cut me in half. I don't know any axes that can do that, do you? No, it's a load of shit.
I don't know, man. You ever seen like a war axe? Like those double-bladed sons of bitches? Work throwing it and mess you up. Royally.
Oh, fuck you.
But yeah, the changing of the gameplay, like, I was able to play Dead Space 1 entirely through with just classic. You know, it was completely possible. The game, when you upgrade that thing fully, it becomes a monster weapon.
It was a god gun at the end.
Yeah, it was. So if you like just stuck with that. But one of the things I thought was interesting was, while playing Dead Space 2 on Zealot difficulty, I wanted to switch. I wanted to have different, you know, approaches to combat. And that's why I like how they give you two weapons here. The machine gun's really efficient at taking limbs out, but the plasma cutter's still got that key, you know, you're done kind of feel to it.
Oh yeah. And, you know, that's really genuinely good and genuinely important. If you don't have that sort of feeling in your game where you want to, you know, progress through weapons, I mean, you know, every game you're going to have your favorite weapon. Like Unreal Tournament 2004, give me a flat cannon, you're done.
Yeah.
But, you know, every single game, if they can manage to make that, have that moving combat feel, that is just awesome. It's something that I think a lot of us would prefer.
For me, I loved most of Dead Space's weapons, but one of the ones that I never got behind was the Force Gun.
Which
you know,
one was the
Force Gun? The one that just kind of pushed him back. It was kind of like a shotgun. But it was a big wall of force. I think
that's a secondary attachment in the last two games.
No, in the first gun, the first game it was a weapon unto itself, and it was just boring.
Well, I think they took the the concussion or one of the energy weapons as a secondary attachment, kind of stick it into the ground, and it acts as like kind of like a force push, like a stable type deal.
Yeah. That's a lot nicer.
Yeah.
Also, I want to point out that I don't know if I get killed here. Yeah.
It's captain.
He's being nice. And then you get this. Oh, right. Oh, that's lovely. But one of the things that I want to point out, though, is if you're watching this in 720p, you get to see a lot of the details, but it looks really good in 1080p. It looks fantastic.
It's a great looking game at 1080p.
Yeah. And I also want to point out that, like, there's a lot of great looking games that are just absolute shit towards any computer that isn't, like, has gaming in its sales title. But it's got a lot of settings. I was able to tweak this while running Fraps and still maintain, like, not even a difference when running Fraps.
That's pretty good, man.
And there's bloom lighting, there's a lot of DX11 settings. You can change the resolutions really easily, and you can do this all without returning back to the menu. So for all of you watching who thought Dead Space 3 was gonna
be a bare-bones port?
Yeah, be a PC shithole, and go fuck yourself, because you know, it's really nice.
Yeah, I mean... well, sometimes you gotta be a bit painful to the ones you love. Get the shit across better.
Why do we always hurt the ones we love?
Because it's easy.
Because when we stop them, they give us loot. Duh.
I also want to point out that I was really surprised here. One of the reasons I died so much in this section is because, well, right away, they're giving you different evolutions of enemies. Like, you kill the first one. I think it was, like, halfway through the first game, if you kill certain... No, it was halfway through Dead Space 2. If you kill the necromorphs, and you don't dismember them properly, then, like, more stuff comes out of them. I think, no, that was even in Resident Evil 4 and 5. Like, you kill them and more stuff comes out.
Yeah.
And the ones that come out, like the secondary forms, are really, really strong and really fast.
Yeah.
And have really, really short stasis periods.
It was like, sort of like, in Dead Space 1, there was those big fat dudes that had the two blades, and sometimes you killed them, they would rupture and have those little springy dudes come out of them.
I hate those. You have to cut off their legs, right?
Or their arms. I don't know. But it's just, if you shoot them in the stomach, then all those little guys that make Isaac spaz out would come up. Yeah. But only if you shot him in the stomach. Otherwise, it was good to go.
I haven't seen them this far, but again, I haven't gotten too far into the game.
I think they have something similar to it. At least, but not as they look different, but they have the same purpose where you have to shake around to get them off.
Yeah. What I really like about this, you know, it's not huge gameplay detail, but if you're having a lot of issue like I was having, again, this is the impossible difficulty, but you can take them out systematically, and you can kind of like, you can get better at the game and overall like having no issues, which is kind of like a big reason why Gears of Second Evolution is over here, but which is a big issue with like how Dark Souls got so popular and Demon Souls, because you can beat the game. It's not like Halo 2 on Legendary where you really just have to keep trying until you
get really lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, and that's
the difficulty isn't inflated.
Yeah, and that's something that is kind of a difficult balance to achieve. But they seem to have done it pretty well in this game, for sure.
Yeah, and the environment's really interesting here because, like, from like a literature standpoint, I guess you could say, you kind of have the same old walk around, shoot echo moments. You've got this really big overshadowing effect, which kind of represents the story in itself. And if you caught back earlier when you was walking through the office, you could see like chairs barricaded and stuff.
Yeah.
So it kind of looks like
they've always been really good at that, at showing things that happened without actually displaying them to you. Like those chairs barricading, that tells a story all on its own. And Dead Space games have always been really good at doing that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like God, there's the part where they had that one like crew deck that was like devoid of oxygen. Dead Space 1.
Oh my god, that was so cool.
Yeah.
And you go that one place and that lady just blows her head off, and you're just like, whoa, what the heck just happened?
This part right here is really, really reminiscent of Dead Space 2.
Oh,
if you guys remember, like a couple, like I think it's chapter 3 or 4, when you're in the mall type area, and you just see marker ship everywhere. You see graffiti.
Oh, that's right.
And you kind of see the sun stuff. So, and there's a clip earlier in the very beginning of this game. I think it's like 200 years prior to like even Isaac doing anything. And it's like I think Earth is like an ice planet. So this may be, I'm not too far into the game, but you can see that like this game is really, really science and like space exploration focused, which is really cool.
Okay, so I don't know if you noticed, but when you reload, you don't get the ammo back. Did you notice that? Yeah.
No, I didn't.
So that's actually something that I'm surprised more survival games don't do. That when you reload, you don't
retain that ammo.
You don't retain the ammo because I mean that's something that I wish games in general did more. Is that they would you reload, you drop that magazine, you don't just put it back in.
Yep. You know what? Fuck you, statue man.
If you guys listen to the music at all, it's really cool. It's like this really interesting break. It kind of almost has the Fifth Element feel to it, or what's that Bruce Willis movie?
The Fifth Element, yeah.
Fifth Element, yeah.
I watched the reason. That was great.
Or no, Blade Runner. It's got a really Blade Runner feel to it with that kind of like soft, airy female voice.
Well, that's sort of the thing though, is that this game has increasingly become its own sort of inspired with.
This is a fucking leg right there. Sorry.
It's sort of become inspired with because we're seeing this more developed future. Dead Space 1, all we saw was just Niche 4. Now we were talking about how now we're seeing this whole city. Now we can really see very clearly. This is what this future looks like and everything. So it's sort of cool to see this explored future.
It's like I don't know. I feel like a lot of the fans are mad because it's kind of like well, anyways, Dead Space 3. It's really exciting. This is the majority of Chapter 1. So we hope you enjoyed it. Sorry for cutting it so short.
Thanks for watching.